is going on? This is AlToneRC. Today I want to share with you the Radiolink T12D and some of the menus on the screen just for beginners, so you can take a look at it and see what you actually have here. This guy is super easy to set up, and I've actually gone through the process of setting it up and doing a test with the included receiver that came with this particular radio, which is the R12F, on my nice little test model here. And I'll show you some of the functions as well in this video. So let's get it over to the drop down so you can check it out. I'm going to go ahead and turn this guy on really quick. The first thing you will probably notice is that this is actually model number 1 in the radio. I've made some adjustments to it already. So it says test model. So the way that it comes out of the box, your channel 1 through 4 is AETR, your aileron, elevator, throttle, and rudder. And those are stationary. You can't change them. That is basically the way they're set up. There's nothing you can do about that, which is actually basically the way most radios are going to be set up anyway. Then your channel 5 doesn't have any setting. It's not set to any switch. Your channel 6 is set to VRA. Your channel 7 is set to VRC. Your channel 8 is set to VRB. Your channel 9 is set to A, or switch A. Your channel 10 is set to switch B. And then your channel 11 and 12 are not set on any switch for outputs. Now, what I have done on this setup is I've actually set all of these switches up so that you can, or I can actually demonstrate them all actually moving. On this radio, in case you didn't know, you have three position switches at the top. You have 2 potentiometers here on the front. You also have 2 potentiometers in the back here. You've got a 2-position switch here. And that is basically all of your controls, because your channels 1 through 4 are on your control sticks. So let's go quickly to the outputs and let you see that. And to go to outputs on this particular radio, all you have to do is hit the N button, and it's going to show you all of your outputs. So I've actually got everything set up right now so that all of my outputs will move. Now, the one thing you will notice is throttle is not moving. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but throttle is not actually moving right now, and that's because I actually set my arm switch on the D2 position switch. So now the throttle actually moves, and we'll see that function on the model here in just a second. Turn it back off, and now there you go. So you have your my other switches are set up. So I'm just going to go through each one of the switches across the top and then show you the switches on the bottom. So first of all, you have your switch A, which I have set for modes, is actually set on channel 5 here. My switch B, which I have, it's actually set up right now for the Radiolink A560. That's kind of how I have it set up, and that's the reason why I have everything labeled at the top here. So this VH is actually set up for the vertical / horizontal flight of that particular plane, changing the gyro settings. So that is currently on channel 10, which is what that particular plane requires. Your VRA and VRB are right here in the front of the radio, and currently I have them set up on channel 11 for VRA and let's see, channel 8 for VRB. And then where I'm going to put my flap set over here, I actually have that set on channel 6, and that's the way it's connected to my radio. And then we also have our D arm 2-position switch. It is currently, as you can see, you see outputs on 3 because my throttle's all the way up when I flip the switch, but it's actually set on channel 9. And then on the back we have 2 more potentiometers, as I mentioned earlier. One of them is VRD and one is VRC. So VRC is actually set to channel 7, adjusting channel 7, and it basically is momentary. It will switch right back to center. And then same thing with VRD, which is set currently on channel 12, and it does the same thing. It just snaps back to the center position. And so that is everything that's set up currently on the radio for the model that I have here. Now quickly, I'm just going to take you through and show you a couple of screens. So let's go ahead and bring this in a little bit closer so you can see a couple of screens here. And then we're going to turn on the model so you can see it functioning. So first is when you hit the N button, you can get your model screen or your monitor, which shows you your inputs and everything moving, and all of your channels, your 12 channels moving. Then if you hit it again, you'll get some telemetry information. Depending on the receiver that you have, it will provide you with some information here. Your RSSI is actually going to show up here. It's also going to show up at the top here. And then it takes you back to your main screen, which also gives you information. If you set your timers up, those are going to show up here, RSSI, and it even has your RX voltage there. So the voltage basically off the battery, that's a piece of telemetry that you will get through your receiver, at least through the R12F that we have here. It's going to give us that voltage off the battery. And so if you want to make adjustments and changes, so you'll just hit the menu button. In the main menu button, you have your general settings, advanced settings, transmitter settings, and your receiver settings. For most, the places that you're going to spend the most time is in your general settings and your transmitter settings. And this guy is really easy to set up and to use. So let's take a look at it real quick. To change what you have highlighted, you'll just use the button here, the scroll wheel here. And then if you want to go to whatever you have selected, you hit the push button there. And so first in your general settings, you have monitor, which takes you back to your monitor. To come out of anything, you hit to end. Then you have reverse. You can reverse any of your channels that you need to. For my model, I needed to reverse my channel 2, channel 3, which is my throttle, and I also needed to reverse channel 5. Again, hit enter, and you can come out. If you want to change your endpoints, which I also actually made some adjustments to the endpoints for this particular aircraft, you can change them here, and basically you go through and you highlight the value that you want to change, and you can change the upper and lower endpoints for each one of the channels. And of course, if you want to go past channel 8, because it only shows up to channel 8, you hit and go to the second page to get to the remaining channels 9, 10, 11, and 12. Again, hit end to come out of there. Your channel speed, you can go into here and make some changes. I haven't gone into channel speed yet. I need to work out and actually get in there and play around with the channel speed, because I want to see if I can use that to affect my flaps. And then the aux channel. Aux channel will allow you, this is where you can go in and change what you have set to, which switches are actually going to give you output on what channels. Your channel 1 through 4 do not show up on here because you can't change channel 1 through 4. It is hardwired into the radio, however, or hard programmed into the radio. But you can change 5 through 12, and here is where you're going to do that. And you can just hit the drop down, and you can use a single switch to output on more than one channel. So you can choose that same channel, the same switch on as many channels as you want to, and that same switch will output on all of those channels. And that is one way that you can actually use a single switch in order to kind of do a little bit of mixing there. Then you have your trims. I did have to make a trim adjustment to channel 6, but specifically for my flaps, to make sure that they were in the level position and they were adjusting the way I needed them to. Essentially, this screen is going to let you set trim on any of your channels. So normally your trim switches here are going to control your channels 1 through 4, but you can actually change or trim out on this screen any of your channels, and that I think is fantastic. Again, hit end to come out, and then your program mixes. You can do expo on any of your control surfaces and all that kind of stuff, and play around with your mixes in here. And so that is general settings. You have advanced settings, and I'll just show you what you have here. Is essentially you have type, flight modes, conditions, rate curve, throttle hold, and throttle hold is where I'm using to arm and disarm my throttle using my D switch here. And then VTAL. If you happen to have a VTAL aircraft, then you can go in and make some adjustments to that there. Transmitter settings is basically where you can actually make changes to your model. You can actually go in here and have the wonderful ability to be able to rechristen a specific model set up. Now this guy will hold 50 models. You have 10 models per screen, and you'll just use the arrows up top here to move from screen to screen. And then rechristen is how you will actually change your model names. And then you have system settings where you set your volume and things of that nature. Stick mode, and that you can change you can calibrate your control sticks as well as change from mode 1 to mode 2, and this radio does come with the hardware necessary in order to take it apart and change it from mode 1 to mode 2, or even center your throttle if you're flying helicopters. Then you have your trainer settings, timers, switch settings, boot settings, and theme setting. Your theme setting is just basically going to change your colors. And then about, which will give you your hardware version, software version. You can reset your system settings and do a factory reset on the radio if you need to. And then last but not least, you have receiver settings. And in the receiver settings, you can change your RF settings, intervals, protocol that you're using, internal or external modules. If you put an external module on, this is where you're going to change that. Servo speeds and a couple of other things that you can adjust here. Sensors are here, voltage alarm. You're going to change your voltage values and calibrate your voltages from your telemetry coming to from your aircraft. And then you can also set your failsafe settings for your channels here in radio receiver settings. So that's an overview of the radio really quickly. And just to give you a nice quick look, and let's zoom back out here, a quick look at this radio in action. We're going to go ahead and power this guy up. It is actually, my test model is already set up. So once we power it up, the A3 Super 4 is currently set up, and it's correcting the flight of the plane and making it level. My mode switch here is going to change my A3 Super 4 now to a wind rejection mode, and then red is going to turn it off. So now it's not functioning. So that's what that is actually doing. And then of course I have my ailerons up and down for my elevator, my rudder left and right, and if I want my throttle active, inactive, throttle. That is one thing that I recommend that you learn how to do, is do the throttle cutoff. And last but not least, we have our flaps set here on this switch. And so that's basically a quick overview and just a quick demonstration of this guy actually set up. I will say one of the things I did not mention is the Radiolink T12D is bound using your model, your first model. It is bound to the included R12F. If you receive the radio with this receiver, it's actually bound up. You don't have to bind the receiver to the radio. It's already done. You can just go in and make any adjustments that you want to make, and then you're ready to go. So thank you so much again for coming by and checking this out with me. I really appreciate it. I hope that you learned something and found something of value today. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.